Okay, we're gonna do it. Flip. Here we go. Okay. Hello everybody. Today we are doing an October wrap-up. I have books to talk to you about. Here we go. So this wrap-up is going to be cut up into kind of 3 different parts. I have 3 different kinds of books I want to talk to you about that I read this month. Books that I finished this month, books that I DNF'd this month, and books that I'm still reading moving into November. So here we go. We are going to start with the books that I finished this month. I've decided to order them in star rating order. So we're gonna go from the lowest rated to the highest rated, and then in each star rating it'll be chronologically ordered. I had a pretty good reading month. I had a 1 3-star, 4 4-stars, and 2 5-star reads. So that's a pretty good average. So for 3-star reads, the 1 3-star read that I had was I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid, and really the only reason I can say why I rated it, I guess, lower than what somebody else might have rated it is mainly because of expectation. I was expecting something, I guess, a little bit different. It was slow. Not so slow and so boring that I needed to put it down and never read it again, because I did get through it in a day. It's a very short book. It's only about 210 pages, so it was super short and very easy to get through. However, it wasn't exactly what I was expecting it to be, and therefore I did feel let down. I'm Thinking of Ending Things is about a girl who goes on a road trip with her boyfriend to go meet his parents, and the whole time she's thinking of ending things with him and ending their relationship. And you get a little bit of like flashbacks and a lot of her thought process, and then interrupted with him trying to talk to her on the drive up there, and the drive is dark and weary and snowy, and it's just a very atmospheric book. So if you like that sort of thing, then definitely check it out. I'm sure a lot of people enjoyed it more than I did, and I'm sorry for that. Now we're gonna move on to 4-star reads. We have 4 books that I rated 4 stars. The first book is Watchmen by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons. This is a graphic novel. This is a mature graphic novel. Written, goodness, it's an alternate history, and it has superheroes, and those superheroes are just kind of like accepted, but they're also pretty much the bad guys as well. I mean, they're not like Captain America, okay? It's a very bleak piece on humanity and the world, and I read this at a very inopportune time, but I still gave it 4 stars because the artwork, oh my gosh. The artwork is haunting. It's very well done, and the story is very well done, and I enjoyed it, and yeah. The next 4-star book is Interview with a Vampire by Anne Rice. I was very excited to read this book. I think this has been the book that I've had on my TBR the longest. I've had it for a decade, and you know, it looks like it even though I've only read it once. But I really liked this book. I thought it was very interesting. I like the vampires. Vampires are my favorite monster movie, monster book, so I was very excited to read it anyway, but I do really enjoy the movie, and I saw that first. So I really wanted to get into this and see if it was a series that I might want to delve deeper into, and after reading it, I do think I want to, because it was very interesting. So we follow Louis, who was turned into a vampire, and he was turned into a vampire by Lestat, and we follow their adventures, and it's told in the form of like an interview, like Louis is giving his life story to an interviewer. So super cool, interesting premise, interesting plot. I really enjoyed it. super depressing. The next book that I read was also a 4-star. It was also a graphic novel, however this was a middle grade. This is The Wern Books, Volume 1, Be Wary of the Silent Wood by Svetlana Chamakova. Oh my goodness, we love this sweet little book. It was absolutely adorable. It full on made me cry. We follow two cousins. They're Werns, which are like witches, but also they have demon spirits. It's very coming of age. It's very, it kind of feels like Harry Potter-esque. However, it's a graphic novel. So it's like they go to school and scary things are happening, and it was so cute. We loved it. Absolutely loved it. I don't know when, I still don't know when the next volume is going to be coming out, but this just came out. So I'm just going to stay on the lookout and hope that it comes out soon because I truly loved it. The art style was absolutely beautiful. Totally screamed middle grade, but it didn't feel very, like too goofy, you know? Like it has its own, the art style has its own kind of gimmick without making it too cartoony or too inaccessible to someone who's a little bit older either. So it was absolutely adorable, totally loved it, can't wait for the next one. The last 4-star read that I read this month is also middle grade. It is called Paula Santiago and the River of Tears by, I think her name is Taylor K. Mejia. I love this book. It's also a middle grade. It's also kind of a coming of age. I related more to Percy Jackson than I would to Harry Potter. It is a Rick Riordan Presents, which just means that it is a special branch of Disney's publishing house, which they are used to amplify multicultural voices. So that's amazing. This book was cool. Wow, packed a punch. I love coming of age, middle grades. Hang on. I love coming of age, middle grades. I love when children get to be the hero of the story and be powerful and find strength within themselves and the courage to be, and that's exactly what this book did. It very much knew the story it wanted to tell and how dangerous it was going to be, and it told it anyway, and it put its main characters through that terror and through that danger, and wow, oh wow, it was absolutely lovely. And this cover is gorgeous, like, So that is it for our 4-star reads. Moving on to the 2 5-star reads that I read this month. The first 5-star book that I read this month was In a Dark Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. Words are hard all of a sudden right now. This was my first Ruth Ware book and I absolutely adored it. Oh my gosh, I didn't expect to love it. I really didn't. When I hear other people talk about Ruth Ware, they make her sound, or they make the book sound like not good. They make them sound not good. But I truly enjoyed this book. I don't think there's a single thing that I didn't like about this book. I think that this book had the opportunity to fall into the pitfalls of its own tropes, and it didn't. It amplified the actual horror of those tropes, or why those tropes would work, or God, it was so good. Okay, so basically the main character gets invited to her old best friend's bachelorette party. So this best friend she hasn't spoken to in 10 years, she's super estranged, and she kind of basically wants to know, like, why did you invite me to your bachelorette party? So that's where the mystery starts, and it doesn't end there. There's also murder, it's also scary, it's also atmospheric. Wow, is truly, truly a very beautiful, atmospheric, spooky, scary novel. I'm glad I got to read it this October. It totally put me in the mood. And after reading this novel, I actually went to Target when they were having a sale and grabbed some. The last book that I finished this month, it is the last book that I finished this month. I finished it on Halloween, and it is also a 5-star read for me. Oh golly goodness, this book was amazing. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. Whoa. Whoa. Instant favorite, slow burn, but it wasn't boring, okay? So basically, it's these 5 women, and they have a book club where they read true crime, and then this mysterious neighbor moves in, and they start to think ooh, God, words. They start to think that he is like a psychopath, like a Ted Bundy type, but then our main character discovers it's worse than that. He's a vampire, and it's even scarier than that because he's preying on children. Couldn't be worse. So our main characters, oh gosh, they just jump into action. They go the distance, you know? They show what they're made of, what it takes to be a wife and a mother and a partner and a homemaker, and it was empowering. It was crazy how empowering this book was, and how unique the characters were, how atmospheric it was, how beautiful the writing was, how regardless of it being a slow book, because you know there's a vampire from the beginning, and you also know in the beginning who he is because he's the new guy who moves in. So you're just waiting until everything can fall into place and the good guys could maybe win, maybe. You're hoping. You're really hoping, because these women are absolutely gorgeous. They are so beautifully told. They're flawed and they're tortured humans, but they're also strong and they're determined, and they draw so much strength from each other. It was very much a book about not only being powerful because you are a woman, but being powerful because you can find strength in other women. That you all are different and you come together for specific reasons. And that kind of friendship is very strong. And that's what this book was about. And not only did it have my favorite monster, which is vampires, but it also has some really excellent commentary. Okay, it was choice. Okay, we're gonna do it. Flip. Here we go. Okay, that was all the books that I read this month. That's 7 books. 7 books I finished this month. We are going to be managing our expectations for next month. However, other books were also attempted. The next part of this video is going to be the 2 books that I DNF'd this month. So if you've been following my vlogs, you pretty much know where this is going. However, if you don't watch the vlogs, that's okay. Maybe you could check them out. They're pretty cool. However, I'm gonna let you know those 2 books that I DNF'd. The first book that I attempted was called Watching You by Lisa Jewell. This book I thought was going to be pretty fun. Takes place in England, so I'm always down for some fun vernacular that's gonna come up. And then also, it's kind of like nosy neighbor-ish, right? Like somebody is seeing what's happening, they witnessed a murder, you know, and I am not a big DNF'er. I don't like to DNF books. It makes me feel sad. It makes me feel like maybe I didn't get the whole story. Makes me feel like maybe I judged that book too quickly. I have since accepted that maybe some books just aren't for me in the moment, and that if I want to DNF a book, I should at least make it to halfway before I DNF a book. That did not happen. I only read 88 pages of this book, and I'm gonna tell you why. Main character and literally every other woman in this entire town of England was infatuated with this man for no reason. They told me he was charming and charismatic, and when he had opportunities to be so, he wasn't. He was bland and boring and didn't say much. It was just taking way too long to get there. It was becoming very much like, okay, maybe this guy is the killer, but I really don't care because he's so milquetoast that, like, he's not a fun villain. None of them were fun. None of them were actually interesting at all. I don't think I have DNF'd a book this year. I think this is the first book that I have DNF'd this year, and so it was quite the bummer. It was not interesting. Oh God. I already felt a reading slump coming, so I wasn't going to force myself further into a book that wasn't going to make me happy when I had other books that could quite possibly have made me happy. And when I think about how much time I wasted trying to get through this book when I could have been reading something else this month, these are the books that I was supposed to read this month but didn't. The second book that I DNF'd this month was called Paranoid by Lisa Jackson. I was already nervous because of the premise. It didn't make sense to me. So basically, when the kids were in high school, our main character, when they were in high school, they played a game where they took airsoft guns and went to this spooky barn to shoot each other and, like, I don't know, play tag or something with the guns. And our main character had an airsoft gun, and she shot out without looking, and she hit her stepbrother, and it ended up being a real gun, and that is a very flimsy premise. The main character is so unlikable. 24 pages. 24 pages. I didn't even read the entirety of page 24. I got to the first sentence of page 24 and I was like, oh no, not for me. Not only was our main character extremely unlikable, it was very illogical. The premise was illogical, she was illogical, the relationships she had was illogical. And you know what? It was interesting too because I read chapter 1 and chapter 1 was very enticing. And I was like, okay, fingers crossed for this book, because while it had a flimsy premise, it was starting rather well. Chapter 2, all downhill from there. It was awful. So after having already DNF'd watching you, I decided I wasn't going to spend any more time on Paranoid. I was just going to get going. So these were the two books that I DNF'd this month. I don't recommend them, but I also didn't finish them, so don't take my word for it. But also, I love a slow burn, but I also love good writing and good characterization, and that's more important to me. The last pile of books I want to talk to you about are the books that I am still reading. I started them in October, and I am going to continue to read them in November, so I just wanted to let you know, because I did spend time on them in this October. A pretty good amount of time. First book is It by Stephen King. The goal was to read this entire book in October, this 1,100-page book. That did not happen. I went through multiple reading slumps this month, and golly, there was no way that this was going to be read. See? She's fine. She's fine. Demon book, okay? It's not bad, okay? Obviously, it's not bad. It's just that I know that it gets uncomfortable, and so I get thrown away, you know? Like, here's where I am. I'm on 220, so I just barely chipped away at this. However, it's not bad. There is a lot, like, he gets really caught up in describing Derry. Like, we gotta know exactly where everything is in relation to the river and this mouth and what everything is called, and there's a lot that he's telling us, but it's good. I just keep getting distracted by what I know is coming. And so I keep pulling myself away because it's uncomfortable. And I don't know where it is, how far it's gonna be. I'm going in blind. The second book that I am still reading that I am actually, it's gonna be hopefully the first book that I finish in November, is called The Starless Seat by Erin Morgenstern. Loved The Night Circus. Couldn't wait to get her second book, and now I have it, and now I'm reading it, and I'm on page 176 of about like 550, 60 something like that. It's really good. So basically it is about this guy who finds this book, and this book has a story. It is a bunch of short stories, and one of the short stories is about him. And then he runs into like this organization where they're trying to get the book, and then there's an evil organization. So there's a lot of like thrown into this world. It's very fun. Also, you're getting his story cut with in between with the stories from the book he found, including his own short story. So it's pretty cool. I'm continuing on. Erin Morgenstern writes beautifully, like it's poetry, but it's not written in verse, if you know what I mean. But it feels poetic. It's exactly what it says on the back. Morgenstern's elegant poetic prose keeps the pages turning. Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. You're eating those pages up, you know? Absolutely beautiful. Let's get everyone together to say goodbye, shall we? Alright, that was my October wrap-up, you guys. I hope you had fun. I had fun talking to you guys. I hope to see you guys in the next video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!